Today, we will talk about bankroll management and why it is so important in this game. But before we do, be sure to subscribe to this channel and download the Sharp app for free in the App Store. Okay, bankroll management. It's not the sexiest of topics in sports betting, but it may be the most important. You know, I had a college professor one time say the number one goal of all businesses is to stay in business. And that really holds true here for sports betting, because once you go out of business, and I view this as a business, then you cannot make any more money. So bankroll management and managing your risk is of the utmost importance. All right, let's talk about what exactly a bankroll is. To me, a bankroll is an amount of money that you're going to set aside that you do not need for your day-to-day expenses. So you're not going to touch this for your rent, you're not touching this for your mortgage, you're not making your car payments with this money. Pick a number that you can put aside that you're going to use to strictly gamble and bet on sports. Determining what that amount is going to be totally up to you. I don't know your finances. So you may have a bankroll as small as $50, $100. You may be as large as a $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 bankroll. But the principles and fundamentals remain the same no matter what your bankroll size is. Now, why do I say I want you to set aside an amount of money that you don't necessarily need for the other expenses and the day-to-day living in your life? Well, it's actually twofold. One, I think should be fairly obvious. We don't want to be in a situation where we're losing money that we need to live. Some of you may have families, some of you may not, but either way, it is never a good idea to get yourself in a position where you owe money because you are losing it in gambling or the stock market or whatever it may be. The second reason really coincides with that first, because it's all about the psychology and how you're going to handle the stresses of losing and the highs of winning. When you're risking an amount that if that win happens, you'll be able to make a payment on your mortgage, or if you lose, you're not going to be able to make a payment on your mortgage, you're putting yourself under way more stress than you ever really need to be in when it comes to sports betting. We can easily build your bankroll over time if you start with a manageable amount. For those of you starting way over your heads, you're going to be way too stressed out when it comes to everyday bets. And that is not what we want. We want you to be able to place bets, and if you didn't want to even watch the games and you had other things to do with your family, living your life, it wouldn't even be that big of a stress on your mind. That is when you get into an ideal bankroll situation. In future videos, I'm going to talk about how you can grow your bankroll over time. But in this video, I just want to outline exactly what a bankroll is and then how you should be placing bets based on your bankroll. So with that said, I want to get into unit sizes. You're going to hear a lot about unit sizes. Certainly, if you've been a member of the Sports Bet Army where I coach, or if you are a part here of the Sharp app and you've downloaded the Sharp app, you're going to hear the professional handicappers talk about unit sizes. The reason we use unit sizes is because if I have a $100,000 bankroll, my unit size is going to be different than the person with the $100 bankroll. But if I talk about it in a unit, then we can all relate. So 1 unit for me is different than 1 unit for you. But if I'm placing a 1 unit bet, you too can place the same bet for 1 unit, whatever your unit size is. Now, what exactly is a unit size? How do we determine what our unit size should be? Now, a unit size is going to be a percentage of your bankroll. Generally, that's going to be somewhere between 1 and 5%. Now, how do you know if you should be using a 1% or 5%? Well, generally speaking, the higher the bankroll, I like to stick to a 1 to 2% unit size. And by higher, I'm talking about when you get to the 10,000, 20,000, the 5 figures to 6 figures type of bankroll, you're going to probably want to be in that 1 to 2% bankroll or unit size situation based on your bankroll. If you have $100 set aside, you probably want to be a little bit more aggressive and go up to maybe that 5% unit size. Now, this again is strictly up to you. The first thing you're going to determine is what that bankroll size is. Secondly, how aggressive you want to be. There's no right or wrong answer here. If you're within that 1 to 5%, the wrong answer would be really increasing it much more beyond that, because we're putting ourselves at undue risk. So how do I make that determination of 1 to 5%? Well, think about it this way. If most of our bets are going to be spread type bets, which are about a 50-50 proposition. If I am risking 1% of my bankroll on each one of those type of bets, I've got 100 bets to lose before I lose my entire bankroll. So the probability of that happening is very slim. Even at 5%, I can lose 20 of my bets before I lost my entire bankroll. Again, the probability of that is slim. So remember, the goal here is to preserve our bankroll so that we can keep improving on our handicapping skills and then be able to, in the future, or maybe now, grow our bankroll. But we can't do that if we're risking 20 or 30% of our bankroll on each bet and we go in a very small losing streak and then blow our entire bankroll. Secondly, when I place bets, now that I know what my unit size is, I'm going to place a bet to win a unit. So just for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about just flat betting. Flat betting means you're betting a flat amount on every game that you bet. So if we're flat betting 1 unit on every game, we are going to do that to win 1 unit or half unit, whatever your unit risk you want on that particular game. So typically, if I'm betting 1 unit on every single game, it's going to be to win. So if I have a game in baseball that I like today that is a plus 150 underdog, I'm not going to be risking 1 unit to win 1.5 units. What I'm going to do is risk 0.67 units in order to win 1 unit. Conversely, if I am taking a favorite that is minus 150 today in MLB, I'm going to risk 1.5 units to win 1 unit. Now, why do I do this? Well, because again, we're mitigating risk. So I'm going to obviously lose those games that are plus 150 more often than I'm going to lose games that are minus 150. So I'm willing to risk a little bit more on a minus 150 game than I am on a plus 150 game. We are trying to manage our bankroll and make it last. So I will do this on all type of futures, like golf bets. If I'm betting on a golfer who is plus 2,000, plus 4,000, plus 15,000, it is crazy for me now to risk a whole unit on that golfer who has a very slim chance of winning. I'm going to risk fractions of a unit in order to win myself 1 unit. Typically, if you follow my golf picks or NASCAR, I will have maybe 5 to 10 golfers that I'm looking at that weekend, and they will accumulate to a risk of somewhere around 0.2 to 0.25 units on the risk side in order to win 1 unit. If I were to risk 1 unit on every single one of those golfers, I could be risking 5 to 10 units on a very long shot that any of those golfers come in. And as you can see, in the course of a very few short amount of weeks, we can actually tap our entire bankroll. We are assuming we have a winning system, but that system needs to play out over time. Okay, so to recap, 1, we want to take our bankroll and figure out an amount that we don't need for our day-to-day life. Set that aside. 2, we want to determine what our unit size is based on that bankroll size. Should be somewhere between 1 and 5%. You're going to have to make that determination. And 3, we want to bet a to win 1 unit amount, not risk 1 unit on every single bet. So hopefully that helps you out. This is going to be something that both the novice and the experienced sports bettor can use and help them along the way, because I know plenty of people who've been betting on sports for a very long time who get this wrong. Again, remember to subscribe, download the Sharp app in the App Store, and I will be back with you with some more educational videos on how you can win at sports betting.